Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing James Scott Bell's book, Plot and Structure, which is a non-fiction writing craft book. I'll talk very briefly about James Scott Bell, go into an overview of what the book is, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I'll be reading for next time. James Scott Bell is a former trial attorney turned writer. He's written several different thrillers. He is probably still best known for this book and known as someone who teaches writing. Unfortunately, I did read this on ebook, and so I don't have a copy to cover to share. This book has gone through several different printings. The version I think I read was from the original printing in 2004, so it may have been updated and changed since then. My understanding is this is probably his best known work, and it's still fairly well regarded in the writing community. From what I've seen, I have noticed there are several authors who cite this book as something that was inspirational to them. And I'll just I'll start off with, I understand why. I think this is probably the single best writing craft book to give to beginners that I've read, in the sense that it covers a lot of ground, it deals with a lot of different things, and it gives a lot of different advice, different ways to do things, a lot of different exercises and things like that. And I think the idea behind the book, most of it is most of it is non-prescriptive, where he says, here are some ways that you can do this. There's no one right way to do this, but here's some ways that you can do it. And I thought that was really, really well done. It uses examples from things you've read. It uses a lot of Stephen King examples, as well as Dean Koontz is cited throughout the book. He also uses Moby Dick and Charles Dickens. He uses a little bit of his own writing, and that was... Even when he uses his own writing, I thought it worked for what he was trying to do. But for the most part, he uses well-known examples. He uses The Wizard of Oz as an example of different plot beats. If you're using something akin to a beat sheet, which he talks a little bit about, he shows how The Wizard of Oz goes down that, and it works in a 3-act structure. But most of the book is about... it really is his general writing craft book. I realize it's called Plot and Structure, and most of it is really dealing with those big building blocks of the book, which are what he calls the lock system, which is lead. So who's your main character? O, which is your objective. What does the character want, or what is the character trying to get or trying to get away from? C, confrontation. What are the obstacles that are getting in that character's way? And K for knockout or ending. And I thought that was just such a clean way of explaining to someone, here are the 4 major parts of a story that you need to make the story good. And it just clicked for me. I thought it was really, really done well. The writing style is done in such a pretty breezy way that it's easy to follow along. He has a section on prologues that I thought was good, of when to use a prologue and different effective uses of prologues. He has a section of plotting versus discovery writing, where he basically says, here's different ways you can, if you're not sure, here's a quiz that you can take to tell you that you may be a plotter or you may be a discovery writer. Here's some kind of benefits from each of these that you can incorporate into your writing if you're not a pure plotter or you're not a pure discovery writer. So I just thought overall it was just a lot of really good advice, and a lot of, here's a way you can do it. Here's another way you can do it. Here's another way you can do it. And it really, for the most part, stayed away from really prescriptive stuff. He has a section on genre expectations that I thought was quite good, where he does a brief breakdown of different famous genres, be it an adventure story, a love story, or mystery, all these different things. I thought it was really, really well done, and I can understand why people feel that it has stood the test of time, because I thought, even reading it today, almost 20 years later, it was just, to me, if you were going to give someone who's just getting into writing, or interested in writing a novel specifically, I think you could give this to them. And it would really work as, I have this question. It worked, to me, it would probably work better as a reference guide, because it's a lot to take in at once, maybe. But overall, I thought that there was a lot in there that was really, really beneficial. If there were parts of it that I didn't like, it was really more the parts where I think that it does get a little prescriptive at some points. I think there's one point where he says, graphic sex scenes are passé, and I was just like, it seems like you're telling someone not to write graphic sex scene, and I would probably say, if that's really what you're writing, then you can go ahead. I think he has, at one point, a tool to generate ideas, and he seems to be on the side of, you should be generating ideas all the time, and here are different ways to generate ideas, and he has kind of a list of different ways to generate ideas, different exercises. And part of it was like, this seemed to be the mindset that you need to generate all of these ideas and then you can cull from there instead of, I looked at it and said, well, there's people who probably just have one idea they care really, really deeply about, and then they go with that idea. So this kind of idea that you need to, this premise that you need to be generating ideas all the time for you to write a book. I don't know if I definitely if I agreed with that, but that was a relatively minor part. And then there's maybe 2 or 3 pages at the beginning where there's this really general writing advice that I think he could have probably stuck at the end. It just to me, served as a speed bump. There's like an introduction to him, and then there's a part of like getting into writing patterns as far as setting aside time and all that. That felt a little out of place, and I think he could have cut that or moved it to the end. I think the book does have a really good appendix where it basically shows you all the chapters and has like really simple couple sentences to explain what all the chapters are. He has a section on write who you are, not what you know. I thought was interesting. And then finally, he has the only other criticism I can think of, he has the different parts of a scene. One of them, the different parts are reaction, action, deepening, and setup. And the one part that I don't think he gives very great detail of what he means by deepening, what I think he means by deepening is anything involving something that gives you a deeper understanding of your character or a deeper understanding of your setting. But he doesn't really explicitly say that. He refers to it as a spice, and so that was a little bit one of those things where I think I know what you're talking about, but that wasn't quite clear. And that's the one part of it that I think could have been cleaned up. But I was pleasantly surprised by this. I understand now why people seem really high up on it. It's not a book that you hear as often as maybe Anatomy of Story, which I'm going to probably review in a couple weeks here. I have that on my to-read list. Or Story by Bob McKee, or Bird by Bird, as far as the famous writing craft books. But every once in a while you do hear people bring it up. And for an introductory book, I thought it was very, very, very well done. So James Scott Bell, really good book, plot and structure. Next time I will be reading Starlings by Joe Walton, which is a short story collection. Until next time, if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. You could like the video, and I will leave my Twitter link below. And I'll also leave some links to recent writing craft books if you want to check this out. So Story Grid, I've done both books by Randy Igmerson. I've done Reading Like a Writer, The Hero's Journey, as well as some others. So I'll leave those links below if you want to check that out after checking this out. Till next time, bye.